All right. Hey, and welcome back. I'm Dr. Toya Davis, and this is Soul Aligned Living. Today, we are talking about something that I know is top of mind for a lot of people. It's manifestation. But aside from manifestation, this isn't really a video about like manifestation in and of itself, right? Because that's his whole thing, but about in the idea and in working to have things manifest. So in working to have things come to fruition, where they go from kind of this ethereal state into like actual physical form, how do we get that to happen without the burnout? How do we shift from this idea that I have to work harder or I haven't done the things or I need to grind more in order to make the things that I want happen? Okay, so we're going to be talking about the law of inspired action, which I feel is kind of that missing piece or the mindset shift that really allows you to get into flow of manifestation without the burnout. All right. So if you are new to me, welcome. I would love for you to subscribe. If you are watching the videos, if you're getting something from the videos, please hit the like. I love it. You can let me know in the comments where you are catching me from or checking in from, and just say hi. All right. So let's dive in. So we're going to start with like just being really honest, right? I know most of us have probably felt like, wait, I'm doing the things. I am doing the journaling. I'm doing my affirmations. I'm doing the vision boards. I'm doing the visualization. I'm doing the things that they're telling me that I should be doing in order to manifest things, right? And the truth is sometimes even that can feel like a lot, right? It's like the burnout can come just from the spiritual woo woo stuff that right, all of the steps that are attached to that for things to kind of flow, not not even taking into account or into consideration the actual action of getting things done. But what I want you to know is that it's not that you're not doing enough, right? It's not that you're not doing the work. Let's assume that we are doing the work. Okay, that's the overlying assumption here is that you are doing the work. Okay, so it's not that you're not doing enough, but it's that you might be being asked to shift how you're moving. Okay, the law of inspired action is more about taking steps that are aligned or the right kind of steps from the right energy, from the right alignment, and from the right timing versus just taking steps. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If I wanted to, um, actually, even just this podcast, just this episode. So this episode has been on my docket to record for, I would say, 2 weeks now. And every time I got ready to come and do it, I didn't feel right. Like, I don't know, like something would happen and I would not get to it. I could have pushed through, right? I could have made the episode, and it would have been fine, right? But I waited. I did other things. Other things came up. I kind of did those first, right? But yesterday, I had a day. I had a day that made this episode today so right on time, right? Yesterday was one of those days where it was like I had to pause and reflect and assess and figure out what I was doing, right? And I'm going to give you an activity to do in a little bit. And essentially, I had to take stock of myself and say, okay, where where is our energy going? How are we showing up? And are these things forced or are they aligned? Okay, because the reality is forced action will get you results, but it's not going to feel good, right? That's how we get into that energy of grind mode. Aligned actions tend to ripple, like they flow, ripple. One thing cascades into the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing, and next thing you know, oh look, here's a whole, we built the pie, or we've sewn the shirt, or whatever it is that we're doing. Okay, so the law of inspired action is more than just taking steps. It's about taking the right kind of steps. Um, you can take 1,000 actions from fear, control, or scarcity and still feel blocked. But one inspired step from soul alignment can open doors you couldn't even imagine. All right. So I mentioned an activity that I want you to do. I'm actually going to give it to you now. Okay. So on a piece of paper, you're going to just make a like draw a line down the middle of the paper, right? On one side of the paper at the top as a headline, you're going to put busy. And the other side, you're going to put inspired. Okay, so this is going to be our audit to kind of figure out the actions we're taking. Are we doing more busy things, or are we kind of doing more things that are inspired? Okay, so think about your last week, or you can do it today moving forward. I don't know, pick one. Pick one. For me, sometimes it's difficult for me to look back because it's like once the day has happened or the things have done, like I've moved on. I don't hold on to it. So sometimes it can be difficult for me to reflect back that way, and it could be easier to just kind of like, oh, this is the thing. This is what I'm doing now. Pick one. All right. So I want you to just think about the actions that you've taken and write if it falls under the busy or the inspired column. Okay. Busy means it felt forced. Okay. It felt forced. It may have drained you. You did it out of obligation. When you did it, you kind of had to like, talk yourself through it. All of those things. That's going to land on the busy side. Okay. Busy is also that it didn't necessarily lead to an outcome that is getting you closer to your goal. Okay. It was a step that you felt like you had to take, or you thought you had to take, or somebody else told you you had to take. And so you did it, but you're like, yeah, I don't really know if this is moving the needle for where I'm trying to be. Okay. Inspired is actions that felt aligned, that were joyful, right? Even if it didn't make logical sense, right? These were things that there was not shame after you did it. You know, somebody said, "Hey, do you want to go fly a kite?" And something in you lit up, and you were like, "Yes, let's go fly a kite." Right? And while you were out flying the kite, you were like, "Oh my gosh, the air is amazing." Okay, so those are, excuse me. I lit an incense and I put it in a different spot before it's in, so it's like blowing in my, it's blowing right in this way. Normally I have it up, and so the air goes up. Um, but anyway, so that's going to be your thing, right? Busy versus inspired. Take a look at it. This isn't about judging, right? This is just to help you get clarity on kind of how your day and how your energy is going. How many things are you doing out of force versus those things that you're truly doing out of inspiration? And this is another test. I actually want you to do another column, or maybe you have, let's just start another sheet of paper. I want you to do on this other column, or in this other sheet of paper, I want you to write down, this is going to be kind of your ongoing, maybe do it in your phone, right? Like a notes in your phone, so that when it pops up you can put it. I want you to note when you get the impetus to take an inspired action. So for example, I'm driving, I am going to the grocery store. Going to go grocery shopping because that's what I do on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock. I go grocery shopping. So I'm in the car. I'm headed to go grocery shopping, and my inspired action, or the inspired impulse that I get, says, "Stop by the park for a few minutes before you go to the grocery store." And I'm like, nah, 3 o'clock. That's my time to be to the grocery store, right? So I didn't follow the inspired action, but I recognize that I got an inspired action. So this other version of this activity is to help you understand when inspired actions are coming in, or when those inspired thoughts are coming in, even if you don't even if you don't implement them. All right. So inspired action is action that arises from your alignment, not your anxiety. It's the nudge to call someone, the idea that drops in while you're walking or meditating. This is what happens when I go off script. The moment you feel peace around finally launching a project or letting it go, right? It's often subtle. Like, one of the things that, like, is really difficult to get people to lean into and to grasp is that being in alignment and listening and kind of following that soul self is not fireworks, right? There's not this internal voice that's like booming things out at you. There is not this, it really is kind of just a calm and gentle, like, word or breeze or like knowing or feeling or sensing that can happen. Okay. Um, which is why it's really important to be intentional about being aware about it. Okay. Being intentional about being aware. Because without the intention or without the desire to be aware and to follow that or to want to be in tune or to tap into that, it can be easy to be missed. All right. Um, I'm sorry, y'all. I might edit it out. I might not. We'll see what happens. Um, the key thing, though, that I want to talk about today is that inspired action isn't about doing more, right? The key to manifestation is not about doing more. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. And I know, you know, we're all people that we're doing all of the things, right? We're checking the boxes. We super multitaskers. We can do all of the things. And in our capacity to can, we typically do, right? We typically live in that energy of can. And at this phase, in this space in life, I'm very much like, just because I can, do I want to, right? Is this helping me to regulate my nervous system or is this causing dysregulation? If this is causing dysregulation, then I need to not do it. And it's okay. Right? I need to not do it and it's okay. I remember last year, and you may have seen like the advertisements for it. I was launching, or we were going to have the Aligned, Liberated, and Abundant conference. Had the speakers, had the marketing materials, everything. It was out. I was advertising. People had bought tickets, all the things. But my spirit was like, something is wrong. This isn't it. Like right now, you're pushing this to stay on schedule, but this isn't aligned. And so I made the choice to pause it, to pull it back. Sent an email to all of the participants. Hey, I'm really sorry. This thank you for agreeing to participate, but I'm gonna need to cancel right now. Period. And it still took me a minute to figure out the why. Now I'm very clear, right? Because I followed that action. I'm very clear on like why I needed to pause it then. At the time I didn't. I just was following the spirit, right? And now we're about to have it, or I'm about to have it again in November, or launch it in November for real. And I'm really excited. I'm excited about the direction that it's taking and how it's going to shape up to be, right? So what would have happened had I done it? Nothing bad would have happened. And so this is also the thing that I want to lean into, right? It's not that when you don't follow inspired action, something bad happens. You just end up wasting time, energy, effort, possibly money, right? That could have been used in a more efficient way. So had I continued with that, I would have continued to spend more money on ads. I would have, the strain, not the strain, but the stress of being in conference for, I think it was 2 days, right? People would have come, people would have gotten something from it, right? But it would not have had the impact and the maximum effect that it could have had. But the toll and stress on me would have been super high. Okay. I didn't have the systems in place to make it be efficient. Um, yeah, pretty much, right? And I didn't have the clarity around really what the goal and the outcome was. I thought I had it, but now I really have it, right? So that's that. All right. Um, all right. So, gonna give you another task. I feel like I'm all over the place today, so let me know if y'all with me. Sorry. Another way to identify if this is in alignment, if this is a part of this kind of inspired action as it relates to manifestation, We're going to check in with the body, right? You probably hear me say the body never lies. The body never lies, right? The soul always knows, the body never lies. And there is an actual whole practice that you can, kinesiology testing, that you can work to learn to study to be able to identify when the body is in agreement or when something is off. That's not where we're going here today, though. You can simply check in with the body by asking questions, okay? Um, y'all know I love a good hand on the heart moment. So, putting your hand on your heart, taking a deep breath, dropping into the heart space, right? So, really allowing yourself to drop in and connect, right? So, you have to be present. I'm not asking you to go into deep meditation, right? But I'm asking you to take a moment to really center yourself into yourself and identify what that feels like. And then ask yourself, does this feel like whatever the thing is? Launching this new product. Today I'm going to launch, or next week I'm launching Chi Aura Cleanse. I'm bringing Chi Aura Cleanse back to the market. So when I said that, I immediately felt like a tightening in my stomach, right? Kind of in the solar plexus area, right? There was a literal, like, not a knot, but I felt a contraction that happened in that area for me, right? So ask yourself the question, check in what's happening with the body, then say, did the response feel light or heavy? Right? That definitely felt heavy to me. That didn't feel light. That didn't feel like, and yes, butterflies and fairies. I didn't get that feeling. Okay. Um, the next question you can ask is this moving me closer to joy or deeper into proving? And I think that's a really important question. Is this moving me closer to joy or deeper into proving? Okay. And then the last one is this inspired or expected? Okay, so you don't have to ask all of those. Pick the one that feels right. Pick the one that feels appropriate at the time, right? But does this feel light or heavy? Is this moving me closer to joy or deeper into proving? And is this inspired or expected? Okay, remember, just going to take the hand, put it over the heart space, deep breath, connecting, centering, stating whatever the intention, the action is, and then asking a question about it. Okay. Now, I know a lot of us has been in hustle mode for years, right? Especially high achieving women, spiritual entrepreneurs, coaches, leaders. We've been taught that productivity is proof of our work, that constant action is how we earn love, money, success, and validation. But I just want you to know that that's a trauma pattern and that's not true. Okay? You don't need to deserve your blessings. I'm going to say that again. You don't need to deserve your blessings, right? By the sheer nature that you exist, says that you are worthy, says that you are able, says that you are deserving, okay? What you need to do is to feel safe enough to slow down so that your intuition, that part that's going to give you that inspired action, is able to come to the top. Inspired action requires that you are able to tap into stillness, hence the right. I'm not asking you again to, like, go and sit and meditate for an hour to receive information or downloads, although you can absolutely do that. It requires trust, and it requires you to honor your energy, not override it. And yes, it takes practice because many of us weren't raised to trust that, right? Particularly to trust answers that come to us in stillness. We were raised to kind of fear inaction, inactivity, right? But true manifestation, true aligned manifestation comes with ease and grace. Comes with ease and grace, right? And again, I keep harping back to this, is not to say that you don't get action, that you don't get the results when you are out here grinding. I'm not saying that, because the world shows us that there are people who are grinding, who are overworked, who are tired, who their body is falling, like they have manifested the things that they wanted, right? They got the money, they got the house, they got the title, they got the whatever it is. They have manifested those things through grind, through struggle, through intensity, right? Manifestation is simply the actualization, the physical actualization of an intention or a goal, right? So they have manifested the intention and the goal. The route that they've taken it, though, the route that they've taken to get to the manifestation, and that a lot of us have taken, I've lived in that mode, right? A lot of us have taken, is that um, it takes its toll mentally, emotionally, physically. It takes its toll. And so I'm asking us to recenter how we even approach the idea of manifestation so that it is in alignment with the law of inspired action. All right. So here's your task. For the next 24 hours, I want you to do nothing from pressure. Okay. What's today? Today is Wednesday, but you might not see this on a Wednesday, and you might have like real jobs and stuff like that. So on a weekend, maybe let's try on the weekend first, right? When you don't have the pressures of work. Um, or you can do it while you're, be bold. I love it. I love it. You could do it tomorrow too, right? For the next 24 hours, I want you to do nothing from pressure. Say no to obligation, to guilt, to fear, or to people pleasing. The reason I suggested originally that you kind of do it in a way that doesn't, that is on the weekend or something, is because, again, people, like, my goal is always to give you steps that don't automatically trigger the fear response. Okay. If we've been conditioned and patterned to operate in a particular way for so long, and then we come in and we try this new thing, the body, my goal is not to send us into fight or flight, right? But to kind of help usher in transition in the way where it's like, oh, wait, I did that and the world didn't end, you know? So during a time where you feel like the stakes aren't high, this is when I want you to do this practice, okay? So say no to things that happen out of obligation, fear, or people pleasing. Every action you take, from texting someone back to deciding what to eat, I want you to pause and ask yourself, does this feel aligned? And if it doesn't, wait, choose differently, okay? I would love for you to come back. If you do this, come back to the comments. Let me know how it felt. If you do this, let me know, tips. Help us, help the community. Um, I know that for me, recognizing and shifting from operating out of obligation was a big one for me, right? We are so conditioned to like be in the, the pleasing mode and all that stuff. I'm on a whole different tangent. About to go down a whole different tangent. So let me wrap this up. All right. So just to recap, the law of inspired action isn't about doing less. It's about doing what's aligned with your truth and with sacred clarity. Okay. And when you begin to embody this idea that that your energy is rooted in wholeness, manifestation becomes magnetic. So, um, if this is if you found value today, again, I would love for you to like, subscribe, or share. Down in the comments, you will have a link for some free resources, including a free class, or like a free training. There'll be some book links. I think will be good. I have affirmation like coloring, like mandala affirmation coloring books. I very rarely link those or bring those out, but I think considering what we talked about today, those would be absolutely amazing. The affirmations that are in that book, or in the books, there's a series of them. The affirmations that are in there really help you to, one, kind of stand in your power and release this idea and get into a flow of inspired action. And also, it gives you something to do to just kind of help you slow down and check in and tap in, right? It allows that ability for our soul to be able to kind of receive and connect with us in a way. So, yeah, I'll drop those today. Until next time, remember you deserve to live a life that lights you up from the inside out. Stay aligned, liberated, and abundant. Peace.